Chapter 365 and 367. It's time to end this farce. Having said that, Yama instantly brought down the sword to slash through Nagato. Whoosh! The speed of the slash was too fast for Nagato to dodge, and he understood this. In the brief moment, from the instant, Yama slashed the sword to the instant blood spurted. Nagato understood that he cannot avoid this attack. And there is hardly any jutsu he can use to save both himself and Konan at the same time. But he had confidence that at least one of them can avoid, although the other will most likely die. However, one can survive, and that was what mattered. It wasn't an objective or calculated judgment. It was what he had to do to make it possible, it was his belief and he had to complete it regardless of the consequences. Therefore, he did what he deemed best. With all the chakra he could muster he used Shinra Tensei. The target of Shinra Tensei was not used on the enemy, nor was it used to resist the enemy's attack. The person Nagato targeted was Konan. To push her away from him and the range of the enemy's sword. Nagato understood better than anyone that Konan would try to take the attack upon herself, sacrificing herself in order to save him, but he does not want that. So he used Shinra Tensei to push Konan as far away as possible. Shinra Tensei. Boom. Before Konan could react, all her papers, as well as herself, were subjected to an extremely strong yet gentle repulsive force, repelling her far away from Nagato, thus distancing her out of the range of the enemy's attack. With Konan's support gone, Nagato started to fall down to the ground. The moment she realized what exactly has happened, tears spilled out of her eyes and she shouted hoarsely, Nagato. Whoosh! 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 Konan tried to fly back and even used her papers to block the sword, but it proved to be futile. The golden sword cut through all the papers as if they did not even exist. It's not that after saving Konan Nagato did not try to resist, he did, and even managed to barely deflect the sword from cutting through his neck to cut through his stomach. Crack. Slash. It was at this moment the sword cut through Nagato. Puff. Blood spurted. Thump. Nagato collapsed on the ground. Nagato. Konan's cry didn't stop and neither did she. Regardless of the consequences she rushed towards Nagato. Nagato. Nagato, please. Konan arrived to see Nagato lying on the ground, a large puddle of blood under him, but there was still breath, he was still breathing, he was alive. Nagato, thank goodness, you are still alive, and we can heal that part, right? You have the Rinnegan, you should be able to heal, right? Konan spoke, reassuring herself more than she was reassuring Nagato, all while her tears did not stop. Konan, ****, leave me here, and, go. I won't be able to live much longer. I can't feel anything below my thighs, at the same time I can feel that my body is disintegrating. As long as you are alive, both Yahiko and I will be happy. I will be going on ahead to meet Yahiko, cough. Konan didn't pay attention to whatever Nagato said, all her attention was on examining Nagato's injury. She could see that both of Nagato's legs were cut apart below the middle section of his thighs. The main organs are all still intact, it's possible for Nagato to recover. Konan was glad. Nagato has the Rinnegan, it should be possible for Nagato to heal as long as he is alive, right? So to keep Nagato alive, she used her papers to cover the wound. First, she has to stop Nagato's bleeding, else he might die because of exsanguination. Nagato sighed at Konan's attempt to save his life and said with a serious tone, Konan, it's futile. I can already feel my body is starting to slowly disintegrate. Besides, even if we somehow manage to stop that person is still here. Stopping him seems to be impossible for anyone other than me. Just go. I am his target, with me dead, he does not have any need to pursue you, just go. Nagato understands this clearly, nobody other than him can fight against Yama, and now that he has lost his legs, and is on the verge of death, it is highly unlikely that anyone else can stop Yama from killing him. Nagato himself is not afraid of death, but he is afraid that if Konan stays here, she too will perish. If not at the hands of Yama, then definitely at the hands of Tri-Alliance. And he does not want that to happen. However, Konan shook her head. Yahiko is already dead for so many years now. Nagato is the only pillar left in her life. If Nagato were to die too, then she would lose all the reasons to live anymore. Konan. Nagato. I won't run away, I would much rather die with you. But don't worry, neither you nor I will die today. What do you mean? I have a jutsu, a jutsu that I have been preparing for a few years now. Although it hasn't been completed yet, it is still more than enough to kill everyone here. After I kill them all, we will leave here and work on to make Yahiko's dream a reality. After speaking so, she did not wait for Nagato's reply and turned in the direction of Yama with a murderous expression. This will be the end of it all. The jutsu Konan is talking about is obviously Kami no Shisha no Jutsu. Paper Person of God technique. Konan is sure that once it is used, everybody here will die. On Jiraiya's side. Looking at the resulting damage of that golden sword, Jiraiya muttered in a daze, just what kind of ninjutsu is that? Toad Fukasaku groaned for a while and said, the body of Yama seems to be gathering more and more natural energy. I reckon that he is still far from showing his true capabilities, and has started to use Sannin mode. Toad Shima nodded, Pa is right, such an astounding amount of natural energy, but I wonder what Sannin mode is he using. From the looks of it, it doesn't seem to belong to either of the Ryuchi cave or the Shikatsu forest. Listening to the words of Toad Shima and Toad Fukasaku, more and more sweat flowed down Jiraiya's forehead. The leader of Amatsukami is already akin to a god in the normal state. If he has mastery over Senjutsu too, then it might even be possible that he has already surpassed Shodame Hokage Senju Hashirama. Does that mean he is the new god of shinobi? God of shinobi of this era? While Jiraiya was wondering if Yama is the new god of shinobi, Yama himself had a helpless expression under his mask. Crack. Damn it, he was frustrated. The reason is also very simple. The moment he had brought down the golden chakra sword, a crack appeared in his petrifying hand, and that crack resulted in a slight deviation of the trajectory of his attack. The result is that the sword that was supposed to cut through Nagato's neck now cut through his thighs. The insta-kill did not happen, although Nagato's body will slowly disintegrate. That isn't the issue here. The issue here is that after that one strike his jutsu dispersed completely and the speed at which his body was petrifying also increased. If anything happens now, it is highly unlikely that he would be able to interfere or do anything to prevent that from happening. That's because even simple movements have become somewhat difficult for him right now because of petrification. And what Yama feared happened. This will be the end of it all. It was at this moment Konan looked at him with a murderous expression and Yama suddenly had a bad feeling. Kami no dash. Konan, give Nagato to me. Konan stopped midway and turned to look at Zetsu, whose half-body has appeared out of the ground. Looking at Zetsu, she frowned. Zetsu knew that Konan won't easily trust him, and continued to say, I have a method to save Nagato, trust me. Konan wasn't sure. She looked at Nagato, who sighed and nodded towards her. With Nagato's nod, she agreed, although with slight hesitation, while she took it upon herself to guard Nagato and Zetsu against Yama as well as Tri-Alliance. Instantly, Tobi, as well as two more white creatures appeared next to Zetsu. Tobi looked at Nagato with a frown. He went forward, crouched next to Nagato, obviously under Konan's watch, then shredded the lower portions of Nagato's thighs with the use of Kamui. P.S. If Kakashi can literally shred an arm of Geto Mazo with his Kamui, then Tobi should be able to do so as well. The only requirement will be that he has to touch the thing that he wants to shred. Shred. Puff. Shred. Puff. Arg-okay. What are you doing? Konan asked vigilantly. Tobi did not look up and said casually, oh relax, I am saving him of course. I don't know what kind of ninjutsu that guy used, but based on the injury Nagato has suffered, that there is some sort of foreign chakra is invading his body through the cut part. Because of that chakra, his body would disintegrate regardless of what you or I try to do. Shredding that part seems to be the only possible way to save him for the time being. Or in other words, you can say that it is a temporary countermeasure, till we find a better method. Nagato nodded. Perhaps he is right, the disintegration of my cells has slowed down. Tobi nodded and said, Zetsu, you are up. Zetsu nodded, and following his nod, one of those white creatures covered Nagato's body like armor, allowing him to stand on his own two legs. At the same time, an umbilical cord of sort is attached to Nagato's stomach and back, providing him with chakra to resist the invasion of that foreign chakra as well as slowly heal him. With that done, Nagato could now stand, and the first thing he did after standing up was Kuchios no Jutsu. The figure at the front was covered with many wounds, blood marks, and some burns probably caused because of being hit by lightning. The person at his immediate back had a blue lightning chakra cloak all over his body. He seemed to be somewhat exhausted. These two are none other than Hiriko, the bearer of 5 Kekii Genkai, and Yondaime Reikage of Kumogakure, I. As soon as I arrived at the battlefield, all the Kumo shinobi went to him. I looked at everyone, but upon not finding B in the crowd, he immediately asked with a frown, "Where is B? Where is B?" All the Kumo shinobi had guilty expressions. One of them took the courage to answer Reikige's question. Reikige-sama, B-sama was sealed inside that giant boulder by the leader of the Akatsuki organization. Reikige's frown tightened, as well as his anger rose, but he controlled himself and looked at the planetary orb as he said, "No wonder I am sensing B's chakra from that boulder." At this time Jiraiya also arrived next to Reikige and spoke, "Reikige-dano, thankfully you are here." Reikige glared at Jiraiya and roared, "Why is everyone here just standing around and doing nothing? B is captured, the enemy is standing right in front of us and yet nobody is doing anything. Just what in the hell is happening here?" Jiraiya quickly stopped Reikige from attracting any attention of the other two parties and said, "Reikige-dano, please calm yourself, the leader of Akatsuki is too strong, not someone me or you can defeat easily. Moreover, Amatsukami has also made its appearance here." "Amatsukami too?" Reikige frowned. Jiraiya nodded, and pointed in the distant sky, "Look at that person standing at the front, he is Yama, the leader of Amatsukami, while the person behind him with crow wings is Homusubi. Other members of Amatsukami may also be here." "And what the hell is Amatsukami doing here?" Reikige questioned. Jiraiya shook his head and said, "It's hard to judge the exact motives of Yama, but one thing we can be certain is that their strength is far superior to what we have imagined." Jiraiya further explained everything that happened here. The Kumo shinobi also filled in on all of the parts that Jiraiya forgot from the side. Listening to all the detail, and realizing just how strong both Yama and Nagato are, Reikige had a solemn look. He too sensed the confrontation between Yama and Nagato from the outskirts of Amigakure, and now that he is being filled on all of the details, Reikige can't help but sigh. Although his personality is a bit reckless, it didn't take him too long to understand that whether it is the leader of Amatsukami or Akatsuki, both of their strength is superior to him. It's difficult to admit, but it is what it is, and he has to accept it. On Akatsuki's side. Arriving at the battlefield, Hirako quickly distinguished who the true pain is. Considering the severity of the situation, he decided to not question anything for now. Arriving next to Nagato, he said worriedly, "Thank goodness you are safe, I thought that something might have happened to you." Nagato did not pay attention to Hirako at all, his entire focus was directed towards Yama. Hirako wasn't offended upon being ignored by Pain, instead, he followed Pain's gaze to see who exactly is the threat that's making even Pain to be cautious. There he noticed Yama and his gaze became murderous. Pain is the only person who has fully supported his dream of becoming the perfect shinobi, therefore, Hirako is an ardent follower of Pain. Pain's enemy is his enemy and he would do everything to kill that enemy. Seeing that Hirako had intentions to take the first step, Yama's heart thumped. What he is most afraid of right now is having to fight someone like Hirako. Noticing Hirako's intentions, Shinichi, Shursui, as well as Homusubi, were instantly ready to intervene in the battle if necessary. Although they don't think that Hirako can pose a threat to Yama, however, if any side made the first move, then the battle against the three sides will again start and they have to be cautious. "Hirako, stop." But before Hirako can make his move, Nagato stopped him. Hirako turned around and looked at Pain with a confused expression. He couldn't understand why is Pain stopping him. Nagato walked a few steps ahead and said to Hirako, "Stand back, if you fight him, you will die. No one in the entire shinobi world other than me can match up to him, others will die regardless of who they are, the same goes for you Shinichi, you cannot defeat him." Shinichi did not reply, just sighed. Konan said with a worried tone, "But Nagato, you are also in no condition to fight him." "Silence Konan, let me focus, other than me, no one can stand up to him," Nagato said. Whoosh. 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 At this moment, another figure appeared on the battlefield. This figure was dressed in black shinobi gear, with a staff in his hands. It's obviously none other than Sandaime Hokage. His strength may have started to decline with old age, but the alias professor still speaks a lot. No one dared to ignore his arrival, not even Nagato and Yama for that matter. Kuchios, Geto Mazo. With the support of a Shiro Zetsu, White Zetsu, clone, Nagato stood up again and the first thing he did was to summon Geto Mazo. Poof. Roar. With that, Geto Mazo was back again, but Nagato did not initiate to make an attack. The purpose of summoning Geto Mazo was to ensure their safety. With Nagato back on his, Zetsu's, feet, and the reappearance of Geto Mazo, the situation on the battlefield changed. On one side stood Konan, Uchiha Shinichi, Zetsu, Biwa Juzo, and Tobi under the leadership of Nagato. On the second side stood Hitaki Kakashi with Might Guy's support, Hyuga Kuroto, Sandame Kazekage Puppet, Uchiha Shursui, as well as several Kyumo Jonin under the leadership of Jiraiya. Finally, on the third side stood only Homusubi under the leadership of Yama. Even though there were only 2 of them on the side of Amatsukami, but no one dared to underestimate the 2 of them. Overall, the third side still had the most deterrence. The second strongest party was obviously the Akatsuki side, or perhaps even rivaling Amatsukami. Yama stood silent, no movement from him. Nobody could guess what he was thinking. There was no reaction even after the appearance of Geto Mazo. It seemed as if the appearance of Geto Mazo changed nothing. Although that was not the truth, only Homusubi and Yama knew their exact situation. Homusubi was severely lacking in chakra because of the continuous battle against Konan and against the shinobi of Tri-Alliance, especially because of the use of Tsukuyomi. And Yama's state needs not to be mentioned, even slight movements were very difficult for him. Yama understands this better than anyone, that with the appearance of Obito and Zetsu, killing Nagato is now no longer possible, especially given his condition. He can have Homusubi use Amaterasu on the enemy, but it would still be useless and only further endanger his life. Therefore, rather than focusing on killing Nagato, his current objective is to figure out how to retreat. The biggest problem is that he can't allow Obito or Konan or Zetsu to figure out his current condition, otherwise there is a very big chance that the 2 of them will pursue him to kill him. Konan is not that dangerous even with her strongest of techniques, but Obito? Obito is indeed dangerous. But I don't think that Nagato will insist on continuing the battle, especially because of the presence of Tri-Alliance. Yama thought while calculating various things. After a bit of objective thinking, Yama took the initiative to break the silence. I am impressed to see that someone in the Akatsuki organization has more brain rather than just brawn. However, Nagato, you should be very clear about your current situation. It's highly unlikely that the disintegration of your body will stop even after shredding the inflicted part, and even if you somehow manage to stop the disintegration you still won't be able to do anything, especially not with that pathetic state you are in. Don't look at me with such intense stare, Yama-sama. I will blush. Tobi said with an embarrassed aura. But no one laughed at him other than Shinichi. Ha ha ha, Shinichi. And Shinichi suddenly became the target of everyone's stare and had to shut his mouth. From start to finish, Nagato did not turn his gaze from Yama, and upon hearing Yama's words, face that was the only part not covered by Zetsu clone became gloomier. This is because he really couldn't think of a counter to Opposite's words, as they were more or less spot on. Roar. His emotions even affected Geto Mazo behind him, but he calmed himself by taking a deep breath and asked a question with a solemn expression. Why is Amatsukami attacking us? What is your purpose of invading here? Tobi was surprised upon hearing Nagato's questioning. Tobi doesn't have an accurate understanding of Yama's strength, but based on what all he has seen and the fact that nearly the entire Amigakure has turned into ruins because of the battle between the 2, he has to at least consider the worst situation here. According to Tobi, Pain, the self-proclaimed god, is indifferent towards all, yet here he was not denying Yama's words, rather questioning him about his purpose. Does that mean what Yama said is true after all? Would it really be that difficult for Nagato to survive? I suppose I will wait and see. If what he said is true, then I think I have no other choice but to do that. Questioned by Nagato, Yama did not give an answer but just chuckled lightly. Ha ha ha, this is because he understands that the more ambiguous attitude he shows here, the more he can confuse everyone and mislead their judgment of him. At the same time, the more doubtful he can make everyone, the better his overall situation will be. Hearing Yama's chuckle, both Nagato and Tobi raised their eyebrows in confusion. A mysterious, powerful, and unpredictable enemy with unknown intentions and goals is undoubtedly a headache, someone they can't be careless against. While Akatsuki and Amatsukami were having a stare-off, Jiraiya and the others of the Tri-Alliance had a gloomy face. The 2 parties have completely ignored their existence. Although it's not such a bad thing and it will probably keep more of them alive, but Jiraiya was worried. The reinforcements from the Akatsuki side have already arrived, yet there is no sign of anyone from the Tri-Alliance coming. As per the initial planning, the main forces of this raid were supposed to be the 3 Kage, Hachibi's Jinchuriki, Jiraiya, himself, and the Umbu commander of Sunagakure. Aside from him and the sealed Killer Bee, there is no trace of any other party. The units of Konoha and Kyumo are still fine, at least Team 11 and Jiraiya are here. At the same time, Killer Bee and many Jonin of Kyumo are also here, but from the start to finish there is no sign of anyone from Suna appearing here. It's as if the entire Suna unit disappeared into thin air. At this time, Kakashi said weakly, "Jiraiya-sama, what should we do now?" Hyuga Kuroto said, "Jiraiya-sama, shouldn't we use this opportunity to rescue Killer Bee?" Hearing Kakashi's and Kuroto's words, Jiraiya glanced at the large planetary orb stationary at a high altitude from the corner of his eyes and nodded slightly. "You are right, we must find a way to rescue Killer Bee. Rescuing Killer Bee should be their immediate priority." Shisui questioned, "But how do we reach that height? Its altitude has risen so high that even attacks from my Susanoo won't be able to reach there." Kakashi nodded, although he understands that this opportunity while Akatsuki and Amatsukami are facing each other is the best time to rescue Hachibi's Jinchuriki, but who can fly to such a height? In the Tri-Alliance, only Yondaime Kazekage seems to have such an ability, but he is nowhere to be seen. Whoosh. 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 Flicker. Zzzzz. Flicker. Zzzzz. At this moment, two incredibly fast figures arrived at the battlefield one after another. "Alla, Hokage-dano, here, yahoo, here, yup, it's me, Toby. It took you so long to come. I thought that something might have happened to you considering your old age, but it seems that I was wrong. Your bones can still support you, but anyway, don't push yourself too hard or your old bones won't be able to handle it anymore. You still have to protect that rotten village of yours," Toby said upon noticing the Hokage. Everybody frowned upon hearing Toby's words, and can't help but think, just who is this guy? Hokage did not pay any attention to Toby's words, after a brief glance all over the battlefield with few momentary pauses at Yama, Homasubi, Nagato, especially that iconic red hair, Geto Mazo, planetary orb, and finally at Jiraiya Sandaime briefly judged the overall situation. After a further brief up by Hatake Kakashi, Sandaime judged that the most urgent thing to do now was to rescue Killer Bee, so without much wait, he immediately spoke to Jiraiya, "I will send you up." Jiraiya nodded. Sandaime threw his adamantine staff towards the planetary orb like a javelin while simultaneously increasing its size. Jiraiya tacitly jumped and landed on the extending adamantine staff and flew towards the planetary orb. Sort of a combination of how mercenary Tao travels added with how Kid Goku sent Rabbit Gang to the moon. Because of the presence of Yama, Nagato did not try to interfere in Sandaime and Jiraiya's plan of rescuing Killer Bee. In Nagato's eyes, just a Hachibi's Jinchuriki was nothing and could be captured at any moment. If he were to try and stop Jiraiya, then there is a possibility that both Tri-Alliance and Amatsukami will work together to finish off the entire Akatsuki, so he does not want to risk it. After Jiraiya reached the right altitude, he jumped towards the surface of the planetary orb, and while still in mid-air he started to condense his chakra in his right hand, Senpo, Choodama Rasengan. Sage Art, Ultra Big Ball Rasengan. In an instant, a huge Rasengan appeared in Jiraiya's hands and he smashed it on the surface of the planetary orb. Boom. Accompanied by a loud noise, the Choodama Rasengan, Ultra Big Ball Rasengan, enhanced with Sage Chakra, smashed a giant hole on the surface of the planetary orb. However, even though a large hole was formed, there was still no sign of the large boulder breaking apart. It was hanging in the sky as if nothing has happened. Jiraiya frowned upon seeing this. Only now has he realized just how difficult it is to destroy this planetary orb even from the outside. At the same time, he can't help but wonder just how strong Uchiha Shirsue's Susanoo is to be able to dig through this thing. Toad Fukasaku said, "Jiraiya-chan, let us do this. I have a way to break through this." Jiraiya nodded, "If so, then please." Fukasaku and Shima nodded and jumped up from the shoulders of Jiraiya, and after taking a deep breath both of them creamed towards the huge hole created by Jiraiya's Choodama Rasengan. Sound. Vibration. 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 Sound. Vibration. 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 With the scream of two sage toads, high-frequency sound waves visible to the naked eyes penetrated through the planetary orb. The vibration shook each and every individual particle of the planetary orb, causing the cracks on the boulder to expand. Crack. 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 In just a few seconds the entire planetary orb was covered in cracks. And because there was no chakra support from Nagato, so the planetary orb could no longer support it and soon collapsed, releasing an unconscious Killer Bee and Gamabunta, who soon started to fall to the ground along with all the rubble. Jiraiya noticed that both Killer Bee and Gamabunta were unconscious, so firstly he released Gamabunta's summon who disappeared into a poof of smoke, then he went forward to catch Killer Bee and bring him safely to the ground. Reikage received the unconscious Killer Bee and gratefully nodded towards Jiraiya and Hokage. I thank you for saving Bee. Being thanked by the always tough Reikage, even Jiraiya was a bit flustered and quickly said, No, it's actually the opposite, it was Killer Bee who saved us, so what we are doing is just repaying the favor. Moreover, we are fighting together and helping your allies is natural. Reikage nodded with a smile. I suppose that is true. With the rescue of Killer Bee and the simultaneous of two Kage, the anxiety decreased and the morale on the side of Tri-Alliance increased. Toby saw these changes very clearly and then said, Nagato, it's time for us to retreat. Even if the entire Tri-Alliance wasn't crushed, we did manage to accomplish quite a lot. We have one of the targets in our hands. We did manage to eliminate one of the targets. At the same time, we also verified the abilities of our newest recruit, and I tell you they are truly effective. Now, all we need to do is to wait for some time and for your recovery, then we can strike again. Even though we lost this fight, the winner of this war is Akatsuki. Nagato nodded, and questioned, and what are you going to do about that secret agent of yours? Is the agent coming with us or? Toby thought for a while and said, I think I will let the agent go as is. It is not as if anyone knows who the agent truly is. Nagato nodded. Truth be told, Akatsuki has been prepared for the raid of Tri-Alliance much before. That's also the reason why they did not kill Jiraiya right off the bat and waited for the Tri-Alliance to come to Amigakure. If Jiraiya had died, he would have surely found a way to give back the intelligence, and there is a possibility that the attack would have stopped. The plans ultimately failed because of the intervention of Amatsukami, but overall, it wasn't a loss, and as Madara said, it's time to retreat. Zetsu passed the message to Sasori and the others to retreat immediately as well. Zetsu nodded. With that decision, Nagato controlled Geto Mazo to rage all over the battlefield, and using that opportunity the Akatsuki retreated. When the dust cleared, no one of the Akatsuki was present on the battlefield any longer. Damn, they ran away. Reikage roared in frustration. Sadly, they did not run away. I would much rather call it a retreat, that too not because of the Tri-Alliance but because of those two. Hokage said as he looked in the direction of two members of Amatsukami floating there glancing at the Geto Mazo, which too disappeared into white smoke.